The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with voices, each one representing an alien species from across the stars. It was a room like no other, where beings from distant galaxies, each with their own powers, cultures, and histories, came together to make decisions for the future of the galaxy. Today was supposed to be a moment of great importance. The day humanity's place in the galaxy would finally be decided. The humans had worked tirelessly to present their case, hoping to gain a seat at the table of galactic powers. The humans had always been a mystery to the galaxy. Their world, Earth, was young in comparison to the ancient civilizations of the Council. Yet, despite their youth, humans had shown an impressive ability to adapt, survive, and thrive. The galaxy's powerful species, ancient, wise, and often cold, had long debated humanity's worth. Some saw them as a dangerous threat, a species too volatile to be trusted with power. Others saw potential, believing that humans could be a valuable ally. But today, humanity was on the verge of a breakthrough. As the council chamber buzzed with excitement, the head of the human delegation, Ambassador Aria Blake, stood tall before the other members. Her speech was clear, filled with hope and determination. We, as humans, may not have the long histories of your civilizations, but we have something that makes us unique, a drive to overcome any challenge. Give us the chance, and we will not disappoint. But before Aria could continue, something strange happened. The holographic displays around the chamber flickered. The once vibrant colors of the council members' representations dimmed for a moment, causing a ripple of confusion across the room. The chatter died down as the council's presiding officer, a towering alien with skin like molten rock and eyes that glowed like stars, stood up. His name was HFY, and he had presided over more council meetings than anyone else in the room. "This is highly irregular," HFY said, his voice echoing through the hall. There was a sudden coldness to his tone, and all eyes turned to him. Something was wrong. The air felt heavier, as though a storm was about to break. HFY's hand hovered over a control panel, his fingers twitching with an unknown tension. The decision regarding humanity's future will not be made today. In fact, humanity will no longer be part of these discussions. You have been expelled from the council. The words hit like a thunderclap. Aria's breath caught in her throat. The humans had been expecting a difficult debate, but this was something they had never imagined. "What do you mean expelled?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady, though a tremor betrayed her. "We followed every protocol, presented all the required documents. We've made progress. You can't just. You misunderstand, Ambassador." HFY interrupted, his voice cold and final. "The decision has been made. Humanity is no longer welcome." A murmur of shock ran through the chamber. Some of the council members exchanged worried glances, others looked indifferent, but the message was clear. Humanity was being cast aside. Aria could feel the eyes of her delegation behind her, full of confusion and fear. How could this happen? What had they done wrong? Ambassador Aria Blake stepped back, stunned. She didn't know who to look at. The other species in the room seemed either too stunned to act or too afraid to speak up. There were whispers among them, rumors and theories, but none of them could explain why humanity had been so suddenly dismissed. The room, once filled with hope, now felt cold and alien. Outside the chamber, beyond the glass walls, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the human struggle unfolding within. The fate of an entire species was now hanging in the balance, and no one knew why. As the humans were escorted out of the council hall, a strange sense of unease lingered in the air. Why had this decision been made? Who had decided it? What force was behind this sudden and unexplained expulsion? Ambassador Aria Blake couldn't shake the feeling that something far darker was at play. Something that the galaxy was not yet prepared to face. The end of diplomacy wasn't just an unfortunate twist. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. And Aria knew that this was just the beginning. What had started as a hopeful moment for humanity was now a nightmare in the making, and Area Blake was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As the humans left the Galactic Council chamber, the weight of the decision still hung heavily in the air. Ambassador Area Blake could feel the stares of her delegation on her back. She could hear the hushed voices, the murmurs of confusion and fear, but there was no time for answers. Not yet. They had been expelled. But why? What had really happened in that chamber? The humans were quickly escorted to a secure facility, far from the Council's main halls. Area, still processing the shocking turn of events, sat alone in a small, dimly lit room. Her mind raced. Nothing made sense. They had followed every rule, presented every piece of evidence that proved humanity's potential. Yet the decision had been made without warning, without explanation. There had to be more to it. She ran her fingers through her hair, trying to clear her thoughts. That's when it happened. A soft beep broke the silence. It came from her datapad, a small, unassuming device that she hadn't paid much attention to since the meeting. But now, something had changed. The message that had appeared on the screen was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It wasn't from anyone she recognized. No official from the Galactic Council. No ambassador, no diplomat. It was simply signed with a strange, unfamiliar symbol. Curious and cautious, Area opened the message. The text was short, but its meaning was clear and chilling. They know what you are. They are watching. You are not alone. Trust no one. They will come for you. Area's heart skipped a beat. Who was this? Who could send such a message? She stared at the screen for a moment, trying to make sense of it. The words seemed to drip with urgency, and yet there was no explanation. No name. No clue as to who was behind it. But one thing was certain. The message wasn't a random glitch. It was real. And it was a warning. Her fingers trembled as she keyed in a response. But before she could type a single word, the screen blinked, and the message disappeared. Panic surged through her veins. Had someone been watching her? Was the message from the very same force that had expelled humanity from the Galactic Council? And if so, who exactly was watching them? As the minutes passed, Area couldn't shake the feeling that something far bigger was happening, something that reached far beyond the Council's decision. The galaxy, it seemed, was a far darker place than she had ever realized. She quickly gathered her thoughts. She needed to find out more. Who was behind the message? And why now? Area knew that it was no longer just about the Council. The stakes were higher than that. Someone or something didn't want humanity to succeed, to thrive. They were trying to keep humanity in the dark, isolated and alone. But Area refused to believe that humanity's future was already written. She wasn't going to let some unseen enemy pull the strings from the shadows. The message had been a warning, but it had also been an invitation. Whoever had sent it wanted humanity to act, wanted them to fight back. But how? And against whom? The more Area thought about it, the more she realized that the Council's decision wasn't the end of their troubles. It was only the beginning. This message had been a key, a glimpse into a much larger, more dangerous conflict that humanity had never anticipated. Area had no time to waste. She knew she had to gather her team and start searching for answers, but she also knew one thing with certainty. Someone was watching, and the galaxy was about to show humanity just how dangerous it could be. The war for humanity's survival had already begun, and no one, not even the mighty Galactic Council, could predict what would come next. Area stood up, determination in her eyes. The message had ignited a fire in her, one that would not be easily extinguished. She wasn't about to let her people be crushed by the unseen forces of the galaxy. It was time to take action, even if the path ahead was shrouded in darkness. With one last glance at her datapad, Area Blake made a decision. She would find the truth behind the mysterious message. And no matter what, she would uncover the secrets that had been hidden from humanity for so long. The real battle had only just begun. The days following the mysterious message were filled with chaos. Ambassador Area Blake, though still rattled by the sudden expulsion, had no time to grieve or dwell on the injustice. The cryptic warning had been burned into her mind. They know what you are. They are watching. You are not alone. The words echoed relentlessly, urging her forward. In the days that followed, Aria met with her team. Members from the human delegation who were just as confused and frightened as she was. Together, they went through every file, every report, every communication they had received from the Galactic Council, but nothing stood out as abnormal. The Council had seemed so diplomatic, so fair. They had worked tirelessly to prove humanity's worth, making alliances and treaties, and offering support in various galactic projects. Yet, something had clearly shifted, and the warning was a sign that something darker was at play. Aria sat with her top analyst, a tech genius named Kian. His fingers flew over the holographic interface, tracing patterns, checking security logs, trying to find something, anything, that could explain the Council's abrupt decision. Kian paused, his fingers hovering over the data. "Wait a minute," he muttered, eyes narrowing. "This isn't right. Look at this." Aria leaned in, her brow furrowing. Kian had pulled up a set of encrypted messages, ones that had been sent through the Galactic Council's internal communications. They had seemed routine at first, but Kian had uncovered something hidden beneath the surface. "They've been talking about us," Kian continued, his voice low. "Not in any public meeting, but in secret. These are messages from high-ranking council members. There's a plan to block humanity from ever gaining real power in this galaxy." Aria's heart sank. What kind of plan? Kian hesitated for a moment, clearly processing the gravity of the discovery. There's been a silent vote, behind closed doors, among the most influential species in the Council. Humanity wasn't just rejected. We were deliberately excluded. Someone within the Council has been actively pushing for this, trying to erase humanity from the political landscape of the galaxy. Aria stood up sharply, her mind racing. But why? What do they want with us? Why now? Kian scrolled through the messages, his face pale. It's not just about humanity being too young or too dangerous. Some of these messages hint at something much older, a fear that humanity is destined to disrupt the power balance in the galaxy. The Council has been holding us back for a reason. And it's not just because of our potential. It's because of something they've seen, something they know about humanity's future. Aria felt a chill run down her spine. What could that be? Kian looked up at her, his face grim. "I'm not sure yet, but there's one name that keeps coming up. The Eternals." "The Eternals," Aria echoed, trying to grasp the significance of the name. "Who are they?" Kian took a deep breath. "I don't know exactly, but there are scattered references to them in ancient records. Old, forbidden knowledge. Some of the oldest species in the galaxy, the ones who first built the Galactic Council, they've mentioned them. The Eternals are something powerful, and it seems like the Council is afraid of them. They fear that humanity might somehow awaken something in the Eternals, or that we could become a key part of their return." Aria's mind spun. "Return? What do you mean?" "We don't have enough data," Kian admitted, "but the references suggest that the Eternals were once an ancient, all-powerful race, and they disappeared long before most species in the Council even existed. Some say they were wiped out in a cataclysmic event. Others say they went into hiding. But the Council's leaders, some of them, believe that humanity is the key to finding them, and that's why we were expelled. The Council doesn't want us involved in whatever's coming." Aria was silent for a long moment, her thoughts swirling in confusion and fear. If what Kian was saying was true, humanity was more than just a pawn in the grand scheme of galactic politics. The Eternals weren't just a myth. They were real, and they had something to do with humanity's future. But if the Council was afraid of this return, what would happen when humanity inevitably uncovered the truth? Was this a warning, or was it a challenge? "We need to know more," Aria said at last, her voice cold with resolve. "We need to find out who's behind this and what they're hiding. If there's a chance humanity is tied to the return of the Eternals, we need to prepare. The Council will never tell us the truth, but we will find it ourselves. Kian nodded, his eyes filled with determination. I'll dig deeper, see what else I can uncover. But we'll need more than just information. We need allies. There are species out there who might be able to help us, but they'll be hard to find. Arya turned toward the window, staring out into the vastness of space. She had thought humanity's future in the galaxy was already decided, but now she wasn't so sure. The Galactic Council had turned its back on them, but this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something much larger and far more dangerous. One thing was certain: humanity would not be left in the dark. Whatever was hidden in the past, whatever secrets the Council was trying to bury, Arya Blake and her team would uncover them. They would discover the truth about the Eternals, and they would ensure humanity's place in the galaxy, no matter the cost. The Council had no idea what was coming, and neither did the galaxy. Days turned into weeks as Ambassador Arya Blake and her team worked tirelessly, digging deeper into the secrets of the Galactic Council. The more they uncovered, the more it became clear that humanity's expulsion was no accident. There were forces at play, powers lurking in the shadows that were working to keep the truth hidden. And as Arya and her team ventured further into the unknown, they realized just how much danger they were truly in. One evening, as Arya sat with Kian, the technician who had helped uncover the hidden messages from the Council, the door to their safe house slid open. A figure stepped inside, tall, cloaked, and shrouded in darkness. Arya's hand instinctively reached for the sidearm. She kept hidden beneath her jacket, but she hesitated when the figure spoke in a low, gravelly voice. "I come in peace, Ambassador Blake. But time is running out." The figure's hood fell back, revealing a face unlike anything Arya had ever seen. The alien standing before her was neither human nor known species from the Galactic Council. His skin was dark, almost like polished obsidian, with veins of glowing blue light running through it, pulsing like the beat of a distant heart. His eyes were black, void of any pupil, yet full of a deep intelligence that made Arya feel small and insignificant. "I am Arkur," the figure said, his voice calm but heavy with urgency. "And I bring a warning. The Council is not your enemy, but they are being controlled by a far greater force." Arya stood up slowly, her mind racing. "What do you mean? The Council is controlled by some other force. Who are you?" Arkur took a step forward, his presence commanding. "I am one of the Lost Ones, a part of a group that existed long before the formation of the Galactic Council. We are the Ancient Ones who once stood against the forces that now control your galaxy. We know of the Eternals, and we know the real reason why humanity was expelled." Kian, who had been silent up until this point, exchanged a glance with Arya. His face was filled with disbelief. "What are you talking about? The Eternals are just legends. No one knows if they even existed." Arkur's eyes glowed softly, a flicker of recognition passing across his face. "The Eternals are not legends. They are real. And they are waiting for humanity." The room fell silent as Arya's heart skipped a beat. She had heard the name Eternals so many times in the past weeks, but now, standing before this mysterious being, the name felt far more ominous than she could have ever imagined. There was something far darker at play than just a political power struggle. "The Council," Arkur continued, "has been watching humanity for centuries. They have known for a long time that your species holds the key to the return of the Eternals. But they do not want this. The Council is afraid that humanity will awaken the power of the Eternals, and they will stop at nothing to prevent it." Arya's mind was racing. "What do you mean, awaken the power of the Eternals? What does humanity have to do with them?" Arkur took a deep breath, his gaze distant. "Long ago, the Eternals were the rulers of the galaxy, but they were not immortal. They fought a war that led to their eventual retreat, some say their destruction. However, before they left, they hid a part of their essence, an ancient artifact, a key to their return. That key was entrusted to humanity. Aria's voice trembled slightly. A key to their return. Yes, Archer confirmed. And the Council knows this. They have kept this secret, manipulating events to ensure that humanity never finds it. The truth has been buried for millennia, and the Eternals have been in slumber. But now, something is stirring. Humanity is the key to their awakening. Kian spoke up, his voice cautious but curious. So, humanity is the trigger. We're the ones who can either bring the Eternals back or destroy them. Archer nodded grimly. Exactly. The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands, Ambassador. But there are forces within the Council who do not want humanity to have this power. They fear what might happen if you unlock the truth. There are others, darker powers, who have been watching humanity's every move. Aria's mind was spinning. She had always believed that the Galactic Council was the highest authority, that it was a place of peace and cooperation. But now, it seemed as though it was a facade, a puppet show controlled by forces much larger and darker than anything she had ever imagined. Someone, or something, was pulling the strings and humanity was in their sights. Who are these dark forces? Aria demanded. And why didn't the Council just tell us this? Why didn't they prepare us? Archer's gaze darkened. The forces behind the Council are not what they appear. Some of them are ancient enemies, beings that have existed since before the Eternals' fall. They've been manipulating the Council, feeding it lies, controlling decisions from the shadows. They do not want humanity to have the power to awaken the Eternals. They will do anything to prevent it. Aria's eyes narrowed with determination. Then we need to find them first. We need to stop them before they can silence us. If humanity has the power to change the galaxy, we won't let them take it away. Archer's voice softened, almost in warning. You are not ready, Ambassador. The enemy is closer than you think. You have been watched since the moment you entered the Galactic Council, and now you are marked. Your every move will be watched, and if you continue down this path, you will make powerful enemies. Aria stood tall, her resolve unwavering. Then let them watch. We'll be ready. The unseen enemy had revealed itself, but it was only the beginning. Aria Blake and her team had no idea how deep this conspiracy went, or how dangerous the path ahead would be. But one thing was certain. Humanity's place in the galaxy was about to be rewritten, and nothing would stand in their way. The days that followed Archer's warning were tense, filled with a sense of urgency and fear. Aria knew that the situation had escalated beyond what she had ever imagined. The hidden forces manipulating the Galactic Council, the Eternals who had once ruled the galaxy, and humanity's unexpected role in it all. It was more than anyone had bargained for. Aria's team, Kian, a brilliant technician, and her trusted aides, worked in secrecy, digging through old records and forgotten archives, trying to find any clue about the key that would awaken the Eternals. Time was running out. Every day, Aria felt a growing pressure, a sense that the galaxy was shifting beneath their feet, and humanity had to act before it was too late. But the more they dug, the more confusing it became. Every lead they followed seemed to lead to another dead end, every piece of information either too old or too cryptic to make sense of. It was as if the galaxy had been carefully designed to keep them in the dark, to prevent them from ever uncovering the truth. They were running out of options, and the threats they had uncovered, both from within the Council and beyond, were growing closer. Then came the breakthrough. Late one night, as Aria sat in her private quarters, staring out at the stars, Can burst in, his face pale but filled with excitement. "Ambassador, I found something. You need to see this." Aria stood up quickly, her heart racing. "What is it?" Kian didn't say another word, only handed her a datapad. The display showed an ancient map, its markings strange and unfamiliar, its symbols unlike anything they had seen in any official galactic records. But what caught Aria's eye was the location marked in the center of the map, a distant, uncharted planet, located in the fringes of known space. It was the one place that had never been properly explored. The map indicated something there, something hidden. "This planet," Aria murmured, examining the map closely. "It's on the edge of the galaxy. Why would the Eternals leave something there?" Kian tapped a few keys on the datavad. "According to this data, it's not just a random location. This is where the key, the artifact that could awaken the Eternals, was last seen. Thousands of years ago, it was lost here, hidden away in the ruins of a long-dead civilization." Aria's pulse quickened. The key, the very thing that the Council had been desperate to prevent humanity from finding, was on this planet. The Eternals' return might depend on them getting to it first. But there was something even more disturbing about the map. "This planet has been classified as a no-go zone for centuries," Aria noted, her voice low. "It's been marked off limits by the Council itself. Why?" Kian looked up at her, his eyes filled with unease. "There are rumors, whispers about what's on that planet. Some say it's cursed, that anyone who goes there never returns. Others say the planet's surface is covered in ancient, dangerous technologies, an automated defense system left behind by the Eternals themselves." Aria felt a chill. If this was true, the dangers were far greater than they had imagined. But at the same time, it made sense. The Eternals were an ancient and powerful race. It stood to reason that they would have left behind defenses to protect whatever they had hidden. "We have no choice," Aria said firmly, her resolve hardening. "We need to get there before the Council or anyone else does. This is the key to everything." Kian nodded. "I'll prepare the ship. But we're not the only ones who will be looking for this planet. I'm sure the Council's eyes are already on us." Aria turned towards the view of the galaxy beyond her quarters, her thoughts clouded with doubt and fear. But there was no turning back now. Humanity had been thrust into a game that they never asked to play. A game that could reshape the fate of the entire galaxy. The hidden legacy of the Eternals was waiting, and Aria knew that uncovering it would not only unlock the future of humanity, but it would also awaken forces that had been sleeping for millennia. Forces that would either save or destroy them. Hours later, Aria and her team boarded their stealth ship, leaving the relative safety of their hidden base. The stars ahead of them twinkled like distant promises. The galaxy was vast, but now it felt smaller than ever, as if all of its secrets were closing in on them. With each passing second, the truth about the Eternals and humanity's place in the galaxy seemed within reach. But there was also a growing darkness, a force that was watching their every move, a force that would stop at nothing to prevent them from reaching the planet. As the ship blasted through the void of space, Aria's mind was filled with the echoes of Archer's warning. "You are marked. Your every move will be watched." But she refused to back down. Humanity had been forced into the shadows for too long. The time for silence was over. The truth would be revealed, no matter the cost. The journey to the uncharted planet was long, and as the ship moved deeper into uncharted space, Aria could sense the danger growing. The map had led them to the edge of the galaxy, a place few had ever ventured. And then, on the horizon, through the ship's viewports, Aria saw it. A vast, dark planet loomed before them, its surface shrouded in thick clouds. From a distance, it looked like a shadow, a dark stain on the map of the galaxy. The planet was ancient, its very presence a mystery. "Prepare for landing," Aria commanded. She looked at her team, her voice unwavering. "This is it, the key to everything." As the ship descended through the atmosphere, the weight of their mission settled over Aria. The fate of humanity rested on their success. The hidden legacy of the Eternals lay ahead of them, and it would either save them or destroy them all. The unknown awaited. The planet was nothing like anything Aria had ever seen. As the ship descended into the thick clouds, the surface of the world below was a patchwork of jagged mountains and deep valleys, split by rivers of liquid that glowed a strange, unnatural blue. The atmosphere was dense, almost suffocating, and the ship's instruments warned them of extreme electromagnetic interference. It was as if the planet itself was a living, breathing entity, ancient and hostile. "Steady," Arya murmured as the ship's engines hummed, and the hull vibrated beneath their feet. They were nearing the surface, and the landscape grew clearer. Blackened ruins, towers of stone that rose like the bones of a forgotten civilization. The remains of something powerful, long abandoned. Kian was at the controls, his brow furrowed with concentration. "This place is unsettling. The magnetic fields are causing interference with our sensors. We might not be able to detect anything hidden unless we get closer." "Just get us down safely," Arya replied, her voice steady. Despite the unease creeping up her spine, she felt the pull of destiny, the call to uncover the secret hidden in this ancient, forsaken place. As the ship broke through the clouds, the planet's surface opened up before them like a wound in the fabric of space. They hovered above a massive, crumbled structure that resembled a colossal temple, its stones cracked and worn by the ages. The structure had clearly once been magnificent, a testament to the power and knowledge of the Eternals. The ship touched down with a soft thud, and the engines powered down. Silence fell over the crew. The air was thick with tension, as if the very ground beneath them was holding its breath. "We're here," Arya said softly. She stood up, adjusting her gear and preparing herself for whatever was waiting outside. "Let's move out. Kian, you're with me. The rest of you, stay in communication. If anything goes wrong, we'll need to be able to move quickly." The team gathered their supplies and made their way to the hatch. Arya's heart pounded in her chest, and for a moment, she hesitated at the threshold. There was something unnerving about this place, something ancient and dangerous, but she couldn't afford fear. Too much was at stake. As the hatch opened and the team stepped out, the cool, heavy air of the planet enveloped them. The ground beneath their boots was firm but cracked, as though it had once been the site of great upheaval. The ruined structures around them stood like silent sentinels, their once grandiose designs now reduced to mere echoes of a forgotten age. "Stay alert," Arya instructed, scanning the area. The eerie silence was broken only by the distant sound of wind howling through the empty streets of the ruined city. Kian moved ahead, his eyes scanning the ruins, tapping his datapad. "There's something here, a power source. I can feel it, but it's buried deep." Arya's gaze followed Kian as he led the group toward the temple-like structure. The closer they got, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It was as though the planet itself didn't want them here. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being washed. When they reached the base of the structure, Kian pulled out a tool and began working on the ancient mechanisms that sealed the entrance. "This place is locked down tight," he muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. Whatever the Eternals left behind, they didn't want anyone finding it. "Can you open it?" Arya asked. "I'm trying," Kian said, his fingers flying over the device. There was a series of clicks, a hum, and then, finally, the ancient doors of the temple groaned and began to slowly part, revealing the dark interior. The air inside was cold, and the darkness seemed to stretch endlessly, but the team pressed on. Their lights illuminated the walls, revealing carvings and symbols, some alien, others human-like, with intricate designs that seemed to tell a story. They passed through long, winding corridors, each step echoing in the vast emptiness. It was as though they were walking through the remnants of an ancient civilization that had once reached the peak of knowledge and power, before it all came crashing down. At the heart of the temple, they found a large chamber, the size of a stadium, its ceiling lost in shadow. In the center of the room stood a massive pedestal, upon which rested a strange, crystalline object. The object pulsed with a faint light, casting eerie reflections on the walls. "There it is," Kian whispered in awe. "The key." Arya stepped forward, her breath catching in her throat. The key, the artifact that could awaken the Eternals, lay before them. It was beautiful, glowing softly with an inner energy that seemed to hum with an ancient power. But even as she stepped closer, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. "Careful," Kian warned, his voice low. "This place might still be rigged. There could be traps, or worse." Arya nodded, her eyes never leaving the artifact. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her, as if the fate of the entire galaxy rested on her next move. She took a deep breath and reached out, her hand trembling slightly as she touched the cool surface of the key. The moment her fingers made contact, a sudden shock of energy surged through her body, and the world seemed to tilt. The walls around them shuddered, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Arya stepped back, gasping for air. The key had activated, and with it, the entire temple seemed to come alive. The walls shifted, the floor cracked, and a low, resonating hum filled the air. The ancient defense systems had been triggered. "Get back!" Kian shouted, pulling Arya away just as a blinding light erupted from the pedestal. The air crackled with electricity, and the chamber began to collapse around them. The team rushed back, but the ground was shaking violently. "We need to leave now," Arya shouted, grabbing Kian's arm. They bolted through the corridors, the temple crumbling behind them. As they reached the exit, a massive explosion rocked the ground, sending a shockwave through the air. They scrambled into the ship, and Kian immediately began powering it up. The team barely made it off the planet's surface as the ruins exploded in a blaze of light and fire. From space, they watched as the temple and the city were swallowed by the explosion, the planet's surface cracking and shifting. But as Arya watched the destruction below, she realized one terrifying truth. They had awakened something that had been dormant for far too long. The key to the Eternal's return had been activated, but at what cost? The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity was no longer a mere bystander. The time to fight for their place in the stars had come, and the Eternals were waiting. The ship soared through the cold void of space, its engines roaring as Arya and her team breathed heavily, still shaken from their escape. They had narrowly avoided destruction on the planet below, but in doing so, they had awakened something ancient, something powerful. Arya's hands were gripping the controls, her mind racing. She could feel the shift in the galaxy, as if the very fabric of space itself had begun to tremble at what they had uncovered. They had triggered something deep within the heart of the Eternal's lost civilization, and there was no turning back. Behind her, Kian was scanning their communication systems, eyes wide with disbelief. "It's happening. The energy surge we triggered on the planet. It's spreading. I'm picking up strange signals all over the galaxy. The systems are responding." Arya's stomach twisted. "What do you mean by responding?" "The cosmic energy the Eternals use to control the galaxy. It's waking up," Kian explained, his voice strained. "The entire network of ancient technologies they left behind is activating, and it's not just confined to the planet. It's spreading. We've kicked off something that's never been seen before." Arya gritted her teeth, trying to focus. "Can we stop it? Is there anything we can do?" Kian's fingers flew over the console, his face tense. "I don't know. The systems are too complex. Whatever we've unleashed is connected to every corner of the galaxy. It's like an ancient power grid coming online." Arya turned to the rest of her team. "We need to get back to the Galactic Council. If we don't figure out how to control this, the galaxy could be in chaos." But deep down, Arya knew there was more to it than that. The Council was already compromised. She could feel it. Their expulsion, the strange forces within the Council, the Eternals awakening. It was all connected. The threat that humanity was facing was far bigger than any of them had anticipated. As the ship traveled back toward the known territories of the galaxy, Arya couldn't help but think about the warning from Archer. "You are marked. Your every move will be watched." And just as that thought crossed her mind, the ship's alarms blared. Red lights flashed throughout the control room, and a loud, steady hum of the engines started to glitch. Kian's hands were moving frantically over the console, but it was clear that something was wrong. "Something's interfering with our systems," Kian shouted, his voice panicked. "We're being pulled off course." The ship rocked violently, as if something had seized control of it, dragging it toward a new, unknown destination. Aria's eyes widened with realization. It's them. The Council. They must have detected our activities. Not just the Council, Kian said, his voice growing darker. This is something else, something powerful. We're being pulled toward a dead zone. A dead zone, Aria repeated, narrowing her eyes. You mean? Kian nodded grimly. The zone is known for being a black hole of sorts, an area of space where no signal, no ship, can escape. It's the place where all unwanted entities go to disappear. We're heading straight for it. And I don't think it's the Council's doing anymore. Before Aria could respond, the ship lurched violently again, and the screens flickered. A new signal blared, one that was eerily familiar. It was the same signal they had uncovered on the ancient planet, the one that had triggered the awakening of the Eternals. But now it was louder. It was spreading. Kian's fingers tapped furiously on the console. It's the Eternals. They've seen us. We've woken them up, and now they're calling out to us. Is there a way to break free from the gravitational pull of the dead zone? Aria asked, feeling the tension in the air tightening like a vice. I'm trying, but the energy signal is too strong, Kian said, frustration in his voice. I don't think we can outrun it. Aria stared at the flashing screens, her mind racing. The Eternals, an ancient power that had once ruled the galaxy, were rising again, and it seemed as though they were pulling the strings. Aria's pulse quickened. She couldn't let humanity be at their mercy. This was their chance, their moment to take control. Wait, Kian suddenly said, his voice filled with a sudden spark of hope. There's a pattern, a sequence in the signal. It's like a code, a way to communicate with them. Can we use it to control the ship? Aria asked, her eyes narrowing. If we can decode it, yes, Kian said. But it'll take time. The frequency is so powerful, it's almost as if it's trying to force us into submission. Aria looked at him, determination burning in her eyes. Then we'll decode it. We don't have much time, but we need to do whatever it takes. We can't let them take control. The team worked furiously, scrambling to decode the pattern in the signal. Aria's thoughts kept returning to the warning from Archer. The enemy is closer than you think. It felt like they were heading straight into a trap that had been set millennia ago. But it was also their only chance. As Kian typed in the final sequence, the ship's control panel lit up with a blinding flash. The ship suddenly jerked forward, and the gravitational pull from the dead zone released its grip. The alarms stopped blaring. The eerie signal from the Eternals began to fade, replaced by a strange, deep hum, an ancient, incomprehensible voice. We're free, Kian whispered, as if in disbelief. Aria exhaled, her heart still racing. But we're not safe yet. We've only just begun to understand what we've unleashed. The Eternals aren't just watching us. They're waiting. And now we're tied to them. The ship stabilized, and the dead zone was now a distant speck in the rearview. Where do we go from here? Kian asked, his voice a mixture of awe and fear. Aria looked ahead, the stars stretching out before them like an endless sea. We go to the heart of the galaxy. The Galactic Council can no longer be trusted. Humanity's future is in our hands now. The galaxy was waking up. The Eternals were returning, and the fight for humanity's place in the stars had just begun. The time to decide humanity's fate was at hand, and Aria Blake would lead them, no matter the cost.